Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Middle Mondays. Much appreciated you guys making some time to watch the video. And you guys know that the Middle Mondays is my favorite part of doing all this YouTube stuff. And if you're new to the channel, Middle Mondays is something we do once a week. Usually doesn't have anything to do with fishing, but it's a good break from the fishing videos to sort of talk about no telling what. You never know what you're going to get here on Middle Mondays. So today we're going to be talking about the problem with politics. One of the reasons I wanted to do this video is that, I talk a lot about the mental aspect of life here, and there's very few things that has affected people more mentally, from my point of view, from what I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years in politics. It's like it's permeated every corner of our existence for whatever reason. I think social media has a lot to do with that. So we're going to get into that a little bit, the main problem with politics. And if you guys have watched my channel before, occasionally I'll bring up political topics, usually if it's connected to the environmental issues I talk about. And you've never heard me mention a politician by name, and you'll never hear me do that because half of this country is so divided politically that I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of, if I say something about one politician, I'll make 50% of the viewers mad, so I don't do that. I address the issues and I address facts, and then people can make their determination, from that. So from that point of view, I don't talk about politicians. And also, before I get started, I'm just going to say one thing is don't waste your time dropping politicians' name and slamming politicians, because I'll delete those comments because I don't want to get into this big argument politically on the comment section. So anyway, regardless, let's talk about the main problems with politics here. There's a lot of them, guys. And first of all, I'm going to start out with saying that one of the things that I've noticed about politics the last 5 or 6 years is how many politicians that have been able to get into office with no qualifications to do the job that they were hired to do. It's like if you were in any other business, I don't care if you were applying for a business, doesn't matter what it is, you have to have a set of qualifications to prove that you can do that job. That's not so in politics, guys. Anybody can run for office and be elected to the position that they're supposed to be in with zero experience and zero capability to execute and do the job. I've never seen anything like it. It's like you don't have to have any qualifications to be elected for office. What you do have to have is power and money and influence. And that's the sad thing about it. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have in politics today, is that the average person simply can't get elected. The only way that people can get elected into office is if they have some type of backing. Whether that backing is if they're wealthy themselves or if they have some type of major donor, you simply cannot get elected into political office without money in these days. And that's tragic. That's sad. That's un-American. And so that, number one, that's the biggest problem that I see. And a lot of those people that are put in positions like that, I see them sort of just as puppets, because there's so many politicians I see that take office that obviously are clueless. They don't understand anything about their job description. They don't understand anything about how the Constitution works. They don't understand anything about state or federal government or legislation or how bills are passed or anything about geopolitics. They have been put into a position where they're a puppet. They are bought and paid for, and they vote according to what their donors want them to vote. Most of the time they vote, it's like you'll see somebody vote, and it's most of the time, if you can follow the money to where their vote is. It's almost like their donors say, don't forget who you work for and vote accordingly. That's sort of the way I see a lot of it. So first of all, the only thing that can really change on that is if we get rid of money in politics. I mean, there's no reason in my mind why any type of corporation or company should be able to donate a penny to a political candidate to influence some special interest. Donations should be limited to like $10 per person from anybody out there. And it ought to go back to old-time politics, where if you want to get elected in your district, you have to go knock on doors and you have to talk to people individually, one-on-one, and sit down and talk to real people about this. That's not how it is anymore, guys. Anymore, it's the people that have money to buy ads. It's the people that have money to have big social media influences. And they're the ones that get elected with that. And it doesn't have anything to do with how skilled they are. Zero at all. I know so many people out there that would be such good politicians because they're experts in the fields that they need to be experts in. And I see some of these people now that are in office that just, I mean, they're just like, they couldn't get a minimum wage job hardly. I mean, with the some of the things I hear them say and some of the qualifications they have. So, a big thing about that, like I said, is that whole campaign finance deal. Second with that is people that get elected into public office need to be in those positions because they want to help people and serve people. But that's not the case. Most people that get into politics, from what I've seen the last 5 or 6 years, they want to build a name for themselves. It's narcissism, it's ego. They want to build a brand. That's why you have so many of these firebrand politicians that say crazy stuff off the top of their head, and they get on social media, they get attention for it, and they get it, and the attention, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, they're still getting the attention. And the thing about that is that's absolutely ridiculous. And one of the things that we can get around that, and how you get people into office that need to be in office, is first of all, pay a minimum wage. They should get the same. They should get minimum wage, or they should get like the same thing that they're paying teachers. They shouldn't be making $200,000, $400,000 a year, basically doing nothing. The second with that is that there needs to be term limits. It's like all these old geezers up there that have been in political office for 30 years, that's ridiculous. Give them a term limit. You get one term, 2 to 4 years, and then it's time for somebody else to get in there. The next with that is force them to have to address their constituency. Because here's what happens is I've tried to contact some of my local politicians. You might as well give up. You can't ever get a hold of them. All you get is a voicemail, and most of the time it says, this voice box mail is full. So what you should have to do is every one of these politicians should be forced, like once a month, to address their constituency in a public forum. And they should not be allowed to leave that public forum until every person in that audience has had their question answered. I don't mean gaslighted. They need to have their question answered. And if you do that, if you force them to address their constituency, if you pay them minimum wage, if you don't give them pensions, you don't give them retirement, don't give them benefits, then you will see who really wants to serve the people. But right now, from what I see, politics is just, it's a springboard for a lot of these, loudmouth, narcissistic type personalities to just make a lot of money, and there's very few exceptions to that. Now, I'm not saying this is true across the board. I know a handful of politicians that are good people. They're qualified, they've got a good heart, they have good intentions, they're good family people, but they're few and far between. So far too common what we see now is politicians trying to draw attention to themselves to get some type of social media exposure. If they can get some type of soundbite on the news or have some GIF or meme made after them, that's what they go for. And it's pretty sad, the state we've been in. But the problem you have is all those things that I talked about, those have to be, basically somebody has to, propose a bill, and that has to get voted on. And those people in the positions of power are not going to vote to undermine their power. And that's what you have to have. So we're really in a really difficult spot here as far as returning integrity and honesty and empathy and compassion and critical thinking skills to politics. Critical thinking skills in politics today are few and far between. But if one of these days, maybe we'll get enough people that get elected into office that they will make these changes in the laws that we can ensure that we're getting top level candidates in those positions. We're getting people that have, like I said, courage and integrity and honesty and strength, and are in it for the right reasons, but right now they're not. So anyway, that's just a few thoughts of me. In the perfect world, that's what I would change if I could change that. But it's pretty frustrating, because if you guys are follow it very much, and if you follow it from an open-minded perspective, you'll see what I mean with that. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated, and we'll talk next week. See you.